Hello everybody, welcome back to More Sins of the Father. Doing an evening read because I got the Blue Yeti headset all set up and I wanted to see how it goes and have a little read. So yes, there was lots and lots of action in the last part. Martha and Parker had a car crash, and then there were demons, and then there were Martha's otherworldly friends rode into the rescue and now are a standing force outside of Marytown, backing her up in what she's doing there. So yeah, lots going on. A little bit of personal backlash on that note because Parker got to see the other side of Martha and he didn't seem to like it very much. So yes, we're going to continue and see what happens in the fallout of all of that. So, chapter 23. It was late by the time that they arrived back at Parker's apartment, but Martha's sister was right there waiting for them, sitting on the doorstep with her psychic boyfriend next to her. She all but leapt up and ran down the small pathway when they appeared, flinging herself into Martha's arms with a gusto that made her believe Parker's earlier words. Amanda had heard that her big sister had been in a car crash, and she'd been worried enough to wait out in the cold, midst of the night, just to embrace her and see for herself that she was all right. It was remarkable. Parker invited them both up, seemingly not bothered about the late hour. He ordered some food from an all-night takeaway and pulled some beers out of the fridge. Martha didn't normally consume alcohol, preferring not to lower her inhibitions, but took one that night, deciding that after all that had happened she could let herself unwind a bit. She'd earned the downtime. Also, if she could admit it to herself, she might say that she was enjoying the company. After getting properly cleaned up, she'd curled herself up on Parker's sofa, her sister next to her. It was nice to just spend some time with Amanda, or it was, right up until the young blonde Ford sibling asked if she could see the talisman that they had gotten from her Aunt Esther's house to recover. Walsh had already told her everything that they knew so far, and she'd taken it about as well as a grieving daughter of a potential murderer could take the news. Her boyfriend had also told her about the artifact that her father had used to summon what might have been a demon, and now she wanted to see it, which was a mood killer, but Martha made a mental note to make Walsh pay, however remorseful he now appeared. Parker looked to Martha for approval. She nodded, taking hold of her sister's hand because the tension had risen in the air, and it felt like the right thing to do. He brought the artifact in from where he'd stored it, in a safe that he kept in one of the rooms off the lounge. He handed it to the younger woman, still encased in the clear plastic of the evidence bag. She scrutinised it through the plastic. Her face fell into an unhappy frown that Martha hated. Yes, she confirmed softly. Yes, this is exactly what I saw. Martha put her arm around her sister and glared at Walsh, who, to be very fair to him, looked bereft that his girlfriend was upset. I'd like to hold it, Amanda said. Do you think I could hold it? She asked her boyfriend the question, and he took a while to think of his response, eventually telling her, "Be very careful." "I will," she smiled sweetly, taking the talisman out of the bag by the chain. She visibly swallowed, letting it dangle there for so long that Martha was tempted to try and read what she was thinking, but she knew better than to try something like that when the girl was actively keeping her psychic defences teetering on that delicate balance between open and safe. This was Amanda's moment, not hers. After what felt like forever, she shook her head. "I don't like it." "What do you mean?" Martha asked her. "It feels wrong. I can't explain it. A woman died for this and it doesn't feel right. I think," she sighed sadly, "I think there might still be some of her energy in it, trapped in there if that's possible." "Olivia's going to cleanse and bless it tomorrow," Parker assured her softly. "If there's some of the practitioner's energy left in it, she'll be able to put it to rest. I promise you, Amanda." "That's good," she nodded. "But that's not why I want to hold it." Martha and Parker both looked at each other, not knowing what she was referring to, but her boyfriend, of course, did. Walsh spoke up, saying out loud what he and the young blonde woman already knew. "You want to get a psychic reading of it." "Is that selfish?" she asked him. "I mean, we don't know for a fact that my father hurt her, and I just want the truth. If her energy is still in this and it's what they fought over, maybe it can tell us something that can help. Does that sound completely and awfully selfish?" "No, it doesn't," Martha assured her. "Can you do it?" Her sister turned to her, familiar copper eyes wide and pleading. "I know that Joe does this kind of thing for work, but he wanted to not get involved in this." I've done psychic readings before, she confirmed, recalling the times that Stefan's brothers had asked her to use objects to locate one of the targets, like a bloodhound sniffing for scent. She'd always sort of resented it, believing it was a good indicator of what they thought of her, but she was moving past that, slowly. Now she stabbed things, and she was also very good at that too. Her sister probed. "Do you think you might be able to do it?" "I don't know," Martha said honestly. "It's been a while." "I can run you through it," Walsh offered, clearly wanting to help. "Fine," she conceded, ignoring the look of concern that Parker was levelling her way. He hadn't wanted her to take on too much, and it was clearly amongst the things that he'd hoped that she would avoid, but it wasn't his choice to make. "Give me the talisman." Amanda handed it to her sister, being careful to leave her plenty of the chain available to clasp onto. Martha took it gingerly, almost expecting it to leap out of her hand, run away rather than share its secrets. Of course it didn't do that. It was an inanimate object, however infused with magical energy it remained. Once it was securely in her possession, she could sense what Amanda had been talking about. There was an energy trapped within the artifact, and it wanted out, probably to be returned to its host, who was sadly no more. Reminding herself of what Olivia had told them about corrupted magical energy, she prepared herself for anything as she said to Walsh, "I'm ready. Tell me what to do." "Completely clear your mind," he instructed, exactly like you might if you were trying to sense another person's psychic ability or sense spirit. "When you're ready, drop your defences. Put your hand around the pendant." It's that simple. If anything is going to happen, then it should be pretty instantaneous. Don't fight it, whatever you do. Just let your instincts guide you. Martha thought. At that moment, her instincts were telling her that she was about to make a big mistake, and she didn't like the feeling that she was being tested, her abilities put on show and remarked upon by others. It was different when she was out in the field with Stefan and his brothers, because they were all remarkable in their ways and simply thought her mundane. Here, amongst what should have been her human peers, it felt bizarre. Even if over half of them were gifted psychics in their own right, she felt vulnerable, and she hated feeling like that. Taking the plunge, Martha allowed her psychic defences to fall away, and then, taking a deep breath, moved her free hand, wrapped it around the gold pendant of the talisman, noting that Walsh was right about the rush of energy being instantaneous. One moment she was on Parker's sofa, and then she was sitting in a lounge that she didn't recognise, watching television, which she didn't ever do. The show on the screen was some sort of period drama in which the performance of the actors was as wooden as their body language, and Martha, who seemed to have retained her thoughts and feelings, was glad that she didn't indulge in such tripe. She'd rather watch paint dry. The hands in which she mystically inhabited reached forward onto the table in front of her sofa. It was covered with a soft patterned cloth that was dotted with stars, suns and moons. Its surface held candles, incense bowls, crystals and some small branches, and a decent-sized silver dagger. Decorative, not for stabbing. Also present was a gold necklace that the woman collected, the same artefact that Martha instantly recognised. The woman whose hand she could see ran it through her fingers, thinking that it was an odd little thing for a person to get so worked up over. But then she was already very magically gifted. She didn't know what it was like to crave something and not be able to have it. Perhaps she was being too cruel, denying that man his wishes. After all, she'd done a lot worse for a lot less money. It made no sense for her to hesitate now. No sense at all. The warmth that Martha felt spreading through her entire body was unlike anything she'd experienced before. It took a moment for her to realise what it was. Magic. The woman was calling up her power, and like a golden sponge the talisman soaked it up. As she stroked the talisman, she began singing and chanting lullaby that lasted as long as the entire length of the latter part of the show on the television set. As the credits rolled, she finished her ritual, turning the pendant over in her hand, more than a bit happy with her work. It was a good incantation. She was very proud. Reaching down to her side, she grasped a padded envelope and wrote a name on the front. Mr. W. Ford. The house that she listed below was so personally familiar to Martha. Her family home. Getting to her feet, the woman in the vision hummed a little tune as she left the room, and then suddenly the scene changed. As if she were now operating a camera that was positioned behind the sofa, Martha saw the woman coming back into the room and noted that she was quite beautiful, with corkscrew blonde hair that fanned out from her head like a lion's mane, and a gothic, made-up complexion that matched her very vintage apparel. She sadly didn't seem to be as happy as she was in the last vision, her face twisted up as she argued with a person that Martha couldn't see from her fixed position behind the sofa. She was yelling an apology, screaming that she'd done what the mystery aggressor had requested, asked what she could do to make it right, but the other person would not listen to her, and there was nothing she could say. The next thing Martha saw was a scuffle. The attacker was small, blonde, and not at all like the man that they'd assumed guilty of the crime. The magic practitioner fought back, but she was not strong enough to overpower her crazed attacker, who was a hell of a lot more vicious than she looked. Suddenly there was a blade in the blonde's hand. It was a dagger that had been on the witch's altar. Down and down the killer struck, over and over. There was so much blood. There was so much screaming. It was suddenly all too much. And then Martha heard somebody calling her name, a voice familiar enough to drag her back into reality with an abruptness that made her feel dizzy. She found herself back on Parker's sofa, breathless and sweaty, quivering uncontrollably. The talisman was plucked from her hand. She didn't see where it went. The next thing she knew, there was a cold glass of water where it had been. A movement on the cushions behind her indicated that she was not sitting alone. A pair of strong and comforting arms went around her, and the voice, that aching, familiar, wonderful voice, was telling her, "Drink the water, Martha. Drink it and just breathe for me. That's my girl." She did exactly as she was instructed, taking slow sips of the water and focusing on recovering her breathing and her senses. Eventually the nausea passed. When she felt like she was back in control of her faculties, she looked across the room at her sister, who was sitting in front of her, being held as securely by her boyfriend as Parker was now holding on to Martha. Safety and snuggles, it seemed. Breathlessly, she said, "He didn't do it. He didn't do it." The girl's face fell in a mix of surprise and relief as she sagged into Walsh's protective arms and began to cry. She made Martha feel like the worst human being on the planet, let alone the crappiest sister to ever exist. She hadn't meant to hurt Amanda, truly. Once Walsh was able to calm his girlfriend down enough for her to be able to communicate again, she looked up at Martha, her eyes all puffy and tinged red. Her voice shook as she asked, "Really? Really?" she confirmed. Not at all sure why tears were suddenly springing from her own eyes and had begun to roll down her cheeks. It wasn't him. It was somebody else, a woman. Probably a disgruntled client. "Rebecca Patterson gave your father the talisman willingly. I saw her do it. She sent it to him before she was killed." "Oh, thank God," Amanda said, closing her eyes in relief. "I saw her death," Martha continued, because she wanted to make it clear how utterly wrong she'd been. "He didn't kill her, Amanda. He didn't. Your father was not a murderer." Yeah. So, the plot thickens a little bit. And, yeah. There's not really much more, I think, that I can say about that. I'm just going to let the words of that chapter speak for themselves and say thank you for listening. And I will be back with more tomorrow. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed it. Keep tuning in. Thank you.